As you know, about 2 weeks ago, City Council approved it unanimously. I'm thankful to my colleagues for the support that they provided during that process. Also want to, as I continue to do, thank the administration as well, because we don't get to a point where we pull together an ordinance that is that comprehensive and really addresses the concerns that many in the industry has looked at as being detrimental to Detroiters getting into and being successful in the industry without ensuring that we have the administration's support and to take us through the implementation. And I'll tell you that I've been very impressed by the amount of work that the various departments have engaged in getting to the city of Detroit ready for this very huge lift. We know it's going to be heavy. We know we're going to have a lot of scrutiny, a lot of eyeballs on us, but there's a lot of people who are pulling together and ensuring that the industry ends up looking as we all want it to be, one that is designed to benefit Detroiters, generate generational wealth for many years to come, as well as understanding that it's an industry that is brand new in the city of Detroit, and we have an opportunity to make sure that it works on behalf of the residents. So with that, I'm, again, still ecstatic about it. We've received a number of communications from residents of the city of Detroit, and I'll tell you, it's rare, and certainly within my number of years on council, very rare that we've had this much excitement about an ordinance. And I think the reason why you see that from residents of the city of Detroit is because now they have a sense of opportunity and hope that they didn't have before. And so we made sure that we did what was necessary to pull all of that off before we approve this ordinance. So with that said, again, I just want to thank the administration, thank the residents, thank the members of the work group who are still pulling together, the social equity work group, and all of the individuals who have continued to hold this issue of equity within the cannabis industry, hold it up over the years. And lastly, I would be remiss if I did not, again, lift up my staff member, DeAndre Watson, who worked extremely hard on this particular ordinance. He did not get an opportunity to see it pass over the threshold, but I'm sure he's looking down on us and very proud of the work that we all have done, and his fingerprints are completely all on this document. So this is dedicated to him. It's dedicated to all Detroiters who are seeking an opportunity into this industry, as well as those in the future who understand that we have government who's working on behalf of them. And with that being said, I would like to then turn it over to Mayor Duggan.
Well, thank you, Council Member, and it really was quite a legislative accomplishment that James Tate and his colleagues did in passing this ordinance. This has been a divisive issue in the city, even though voters in Detroit and in Michigan overwhelmingly approved the legalization of marijuana. There was a strong group of individuals who did not want to see it in the city of Detroit. And even among those who did, it was deeply troubling that in this multi-billion-dollar industry, that in the first wave of it, the medical marijuana, more than 90% of all the businesses in the city of Detroit were owned by non-Detroiters. And there was a prospect, because those individuals were grandfathered under the ballot issue, that it was permanently going to be an industry that by and large excluded Detroiters. And so Councilman Tate and council stood up to a great deal of criticism in delaying the approval of recreational dispensaries in the city of Detroit until we were able to come together and do something that said, we are going to honor the wishes of the voters. We're going to do it in a way where Detroiters have real opportunities, and we're going to put hard teeth into this to make sure that it happens. Now, I have to say, I never thought the council member would get a 9-0 vote. I don't know how often we ever see a 9-0 vote, but it's something of this level of attention, it doesn't really happen. So on November 24th, right after the council member got this passed, he called me and said, when are you going to start the implementation? And I said, well, we can start to roll it out within 2 weeks. And we want to do that because we want Detroiters who want to get into this business, whether it is in a dispensary, whether it is a grow facility, whether it is a consumption facility, essentially the equivalent of a craft bar, whatever your particular desire is, we want you to get a head start. And it would be good if you started that process even before the holidays. And so what the council member asked me to do, and I'm here with Charity Dean, the head of the Civil Rights and Inclusion Office, who's going to be doing a great deal of this and can answer questions on the specifics, is I want to show for anybody who's listening, who lives in Detroit and wants to get into this business and says, where do I start? I'm going to show you step by step what you can do right now and what you have to do to get there. So we have now opened the website. It's at detroitmeansbusiness.org. And if you go onto that site, you can click on the marijuana link, and it will show you a great deal of information, what's in the ordinance, what the processes are. This is going to be the place that as we continue to add resources to people starting marijuana businesses, we will have it all at one place at detroitmeansbusiness.org. But you can get your information today on that site. Here's what City Council has approved, that there are up to 75 what you think of as dispensaries available in this city. That's about 1 every 2 square miles. We thought that was a reasonable amount. Another 75 adult use retail establishments. Think about a craft bar for beer. You can't have beer and marijuana in the same facility, but you could have the same kind of thing. You could have music and cannabis or the like. And then there are growers and processors and a number of other activities. And in each of these, we're going to make sure Detroiters get their fair share. So, I live in Detroit. I'm interested in starting a business. What are the dates? Today, you should be going to the state of Michigan and get pre-qualified from the state, because before any city can grant you a license, you've got to get your state qualification. You can do that now. Starting January 19th, you can start to get certified as a Detroit Legacy applicant with Charity Dean and CRIO. And so we're basically 5 weeks away from being able to do that, and we'd like you to get a head start on being prepared for when that opens. On April 1st, you can actually apply for your license, and starting May 1st, the first licenses will be issued in the city of Detroit for recreational marijuana facilities. That's our timeline. Those are the people who get in first. That's what they're looking at. So let me take you through each of those steps. First, the state pre-qualification. This applies to every marijuana business in the state of Michigan goes through this process. Michigan has the Marijuana Regulatory Agency, the MRA. It pre-qualifies any business entity in the state. And so if you go on there now at michigan.gov/MRA, here are the requirements. First, you're going to pay a $6,000 fee. Now, there's significant reductions if you are qualified in a social equity program. Social equity program includes living in designated areas like Detroit, which gets you a significant discount. If you are of lower income, you get a significant discount. If you've had you or your family member affected by marijuana prosecutions, you get a significant discount. But you can go on and find out what that fee would be to you. There's a very great chance, if you're applying to be a Detroit Legacy applicant, that $6,000 state fee will be significantly reduced. You're going to have to provide the information about your company, your personal background information. It isn't that hard, but you got to get it started. It takes 2 or 3 months to get through that state process. And so you don't want to show up at Charity Dean's office in January to start your legacy process, and she said, have you started your state process? If you want to do this, start your state process now. On January 19th, Charity Dean's office will be open for Detroit certification. This is for a Detroit Legacy applicant. That means you are truly a Detroit individual, a Detroit company. You can get your certification as a Detroiter as an individual. So who is a Detroiter under the Legacy definition? You've got to live in Detroit for a year at the time you file the application, and you have to have lived in Detroit for 15 of the last 30 years, or 13 of the last 30 years if you're of low income, or 10 of the last 30 years if you have a marijuana conviction or a parent with the marijuana conviction. So this is for legitimate Detroiters, people who have got their roots in this community and have lived here for at least a year. If you fall in any of those categories, you will go to CRIO, to Charity Dean's Operation. They will certify you. They're going to look at things like your driver's licenses and your income tax returns and the like to demonstrate that you truly were a Detroiter. Or you can qualify as a business legacy, and you can get your certification. What's a business legacy? Your business has to be owned and controlled 51% by individuals with the legacy certification. So if you truly are a Detroit owner, you operate, you control the operation, you own 51%, you can take a partner from outside the city. You can be certified, but it is going to have to be a real transaction, and what Charity Dean's Operation is going to do is look into the financial structure and agreements in your organization. It is going to have to be a legitimate partnership with legitimate Detroit control, and that's what's going to be reviewed. Now, here's the thing that you should know. You can start your CRIO application on January 19th, even if your state pre-qualification hasn't come in. Remember, state is step one. So if you start the state in December and it doesn't come in till February, that's okay. You can still start with CRIO on January 19th, and they can go on parallel tracks. But before you get a license, you're going to have to get them both done. And so you should be thinking about, am I a legacy Detroiter? You're not going to fool anybody. We are going to investigate this. Or can I strike a business partnership, get your partnership worked out so that you're ready by January 19th to come in to the City of Detroit Civil Rights Office and get certified. All right, you got your state pre-qualification, you've got your civil rights qualification as a Detroiter. Now the next piece, on April 1st, you're set. You want to have both of those things in place by March, because on April 1st, you can apply for your business license. And that goes to the city's BSEED department, which processes all the medical marijuana in the past. And so you want to be ready April 1 to walk in the door at BSEED and have everything ready to go. On April 1st, you're going to have to walk in and have an application fee of $1,000. Councilman Tate provided that Detroit legacy applicants get a 99% discount. I said that right. So if you're a Detroit legacy applicant, you've got to come in with $10. That is as good a deal as you're ever going to get from city government. So if you got everything done, you can come in for a $10 application fee and start your business license process. When you actually get the license, you have to pay another $10. That's what it costs for the city government review, because we are trying to facilitate this. This is for Detroiters, it's not for non-Detroiters. They'll have to pay the full $1,000. But we are going to change the inequity on Detroit versus non-Detroit ownership of this community. You're going to have a detailed business plan. This is going to be scrutinized. You can't just put something down on a piece of paper. You're going to have 3 years of your income tax returns to show you're legitimate. We're going to have to do a background check. You're going to have property tax clearances, blight clearances. If you've got blight tickets on your properties, you're not going to be able to start a new business if you have already got blight that you haven't resolved at your old businesses. These are things you need to get out of the way before April 1st. You come in April 1st with a clean application. And the last item is this: you have to have an address for your business if you want an immediate license. If you have everything else, but you don't yet have your address, Detroiters can get a provisional license. And here's what that means. If you've got everything else done on your blight clearances, your income tax returns, everything else, your business plans, but you say, I don't have my site nailed down yet, BSEED will give you a provisional license. It's good for 1 year, which means you've got 1 year to finalize the address and business location. And it'll stay there as long as the city hasn't hit its cap. So if 75 have been approved, which is highly unlikely that we'll be anywhere close to that in a year, but your provisional license won't be valid after we reach 75. So, but I think there's an excellent chance that that provisional license will put you in a position where you can go find partners, you can find locations, and you can get there. We are going to do everything we can to create every opportunity for Detroiters to start these businesses. Now, This was the most controversial provision. Councilmember Tate and I had numerous conversations with businesses who were not located in Detroit. And there was a fair amount of tension, but I think at the end of the day, the fairness of this provision won out. The city will not issue a license to any business unless 50% of the licenses in that category are to Detroiters, which means if you're outside the city, you can't get a license unless a Detroiter already has one. We'll never go below 50%. And it's a pretty unique provision nationally. We're confident it will hold up legally, and I think at this point, even those who were skeptics have come to see that this is pretty reasonable. And so the Detroit legacy applicants are reviewed first. So again, Councilmember Tate built a preference in here on time-wise. Detroiters will start getting their licenses processed May 1st. Nobody else starts before June 16th. So if you wait 3 or 4 months, the time advantage that's in the ordinance goes away. You've given it away. That's why we're standing here in December saying, start now. We built this preferential time advantage for Detroiters, but you have to take advantage of it by moving through the process. The other thing is this, that if there is city-owned property that you think is an appropriate location and the zoning is proper, you can buy it from the city with a 75% discount of fair market value, another piece of what Detroit City Council has authorized. Again, that is for Detroiters. We are entitled to give a discount off the sale of Detroit land to residents of Detroit to create economic opportunities for Detroiters. Totally appropriate. And so if you got the right location, we will get it to you at a fair rate. We are going to have sometime early next year a website where you can see the properties. We weren't able to get that done in 2 weeks. It'll be done in early 2021. But Jill Bryant says until the website is live, email her, and she runs our property sales. She will take you through the locations, will give you maps of the locations, and help you find something that you may find appropriate. And her email is on that slide. You can email her, and she will get back promptly. And sometime in the early part of next year, you'll be able to go online and just see the properties for yourself. And so what we want to do is this. We're saying that the city of Detroit over the years hasn't done enough to create business opportunities for Detroiters. Motor City Match was a total game changer. We created sources of funds for businesses to start. What we've done on Livernois and Grand River and the like, rebuilding those streetscapes to make great neighborhood corridors, has helped jumpstart a lot of Detroit business folks. We've set up a number of loan programs. But this is the first time we're taking the city of Detroit licensing power and saying we are going to make sure that 50% at minimum of the opportunities will go to Detroiters. So you can rewatch this video if you want to do this, but we're going to be there with you every step of the way. With that, let me turn it over to Charity Dean, and she wants to talk about how she's going to handle the application starting January 19th in her department.
Thank you, Mayor. So again, I'm Charity Dean, Director of our Civil Rights, Inclusion, and Opportunity Department. Starting January 19th, you will be able to go to DetroitMeansBusiness.org, and there will be an application there for legacy certifications. And so what we're going to be doing is based on the criteria that the mayor just laid out. You've lived in Detroit for 15 of the last 30 years or 13 with proof of low income, 10 of the last 30 years, and have a marijuana conviction. We're going to ask for supporting documentation for each one of those criteria, and then we will begin processing the application. The same for the businesses that are owned and controlled by 51%. And so we're going to also be coordinating with our law department to go and do an in-depth analysis on how organizations are organized and their financial, the financial ramifications of the organizations, so that we can make sure that these are bona fide organizations that qualify for the Detroit Legacy Certification. We're also going to be working with Detroit Means Business to make sure that legacy Detroiters have access to technical assistance and resources once the program actually launches. So we're super excited about the opportunity that this creates for Detroiters, and I'm happy to take any questions.
With that, we'll open it up for questions.
Good
Good afternoon to you all. Ken Coleman from MichiganAdvance.com. Question for any of the three, but certainly Mayor Duggan and Councilman Tate. I came here with questions about concerns, talking to prospective licensees and concerns about startup capital or financing. The idea of some of them feeling that, do I have enough money to be able to play in this game? Sounds like through these fees and the like, and even 75% discount on land is pretty significant. But are there any other efforts that either the two of you have been thinking about partnering with the foundation community or banking institutions? Maybe Mayor Duggan, it's part of kind of what you did with Motor City Match. Are there any other opportunities that you see as office holders that would help legacy Detroiters be able to secure these licenses and be able to be successful business people?
I'll let the council member respond, but both of us have been intensely involved in these conversations. Because the federal government has not yet followed suit, the banks getting involved in making loans for marijuana businesses is far dicier than it is for other businesses. But we are looking at ways potentially that funds could be created, whether they're donated by philanthropy or if banks could put them into funds where they're administered, something similar to what we do with Invest Detroit or the Entrepreneur of Colors Fund. And so those conversations are going on right now. I think sometime in the first half of next year, we will have something set up, but it will still be, you're going to have to go in front of folks with a business plan to make a case who are going to review it, but we're going to try to get some source of funds that are dedicated. And Councilman, you can talk about, you've been on this for a while.
Yeah, I mean, Ms. Mayor, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, there are a number of challenges that we cannot control, but what we did was looked at the things that we could. And what we could control were the licensing fees and the cost for the properties. I mean, we know for a fact that no matter where you look around the country, especially in urban areas, when you have properties that are available to be zoned for cannabis use, those properties, the cost goes exponentially high. 4 or 5 times, I've heard even higher than that. And so again, while we are working on addressing the capital costs, have confidence that we're going to get to that point. What we have done on the front end is address those costs that we absolutely have control over. And that's, again, with looking at the acquisition of land as well as the licensing costs.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, on a different topic, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Appreciate the opportunity to be at these news conferences. It gives us a chance to
You
ask
show up in person, you should be able to ask a question.
There you go, there you go. On the issue, I saw you on Reverend Sharpton's broadcast this weekend. You talked a little bit about the vaccine distribution process as it relates to COVID-19. We know that you stated that you feel like the city needs to be able to do 5,000 vaccinations once the vaccine gets up and rolling. You talked about some of the sites, perhaps using TCF Center again, stadium or stadia, parking lots. Can you give me a little bit more meat on the bone with the idea that the federal government gives you, the resources are provided by the federal government? I know the state's going to have a role too. Can you tell me a little bit more about how the city plans to operate?
Well, on January 20th, when there is an administration in place that gives us a clear direction, life will get easier for every governor and every mayor in this country. Governor Whitmer is doing everything she possibly can, given the literally daily changing information. But I'm expecting sometime in the coming days that the Pfizer vaccine will be approved by the feds, that some number of doses will be sent to the state of Michigan, and that the governor will distribute them to hospitals for frontline healthcare workers, which I think we should all agree ought to be the first priority. I am going to take the vaccine myself at the earliest appropriate time. I have 100% confidence in what Pfizer and Moderna have done, but I'm not going to get in the way of an emergency room nurse getting his or her vaccine first. That's going to start to happen in December. It is unclear to me when there will be enough vaccines delivered when we get past the healthcare workers maybe the police officers and first responders in the second wave, and start to get into real Detroiters. I mean, the actions of real Detroiters, but the general population of Detroit. That may be March or April. When that happens, the doctor's offices, the pharmacies, they've been giving out flu shots for decades. They'll all be a piece of this, but we've never seen this magnitude of a vaccination that needs to be done, and we believe we will have to supplement what the doctor's offices and pharmacies can do, probably at the rate of 5,000 a day. And there is a segment of population in this country that's distrustful of vaccines, and in the black community that's particularly pronounced, and we're going to have to overcome that with a lot of education. But the reality is, those residents of Detroit who are ready and willing to get the vaccine now, it's going to take us at least through April before we can vaccinate everybody who is ready and willing before we start to have to talk about those who are more skeptical. So nobody's going to mandate anybody take a vaccine. It's everybody's own choice. I was really pleased to see President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton all say they would take the vaccine. They've done that kind of research. What I expect that you will see is, and we are doing this in full coordination with Governor Whitmer, whose team is doing just an outstanding job at keeping us informed on this, that I would expect to see maybe in March the indoor parking structure at the TCF Center handling 2,500 vaccinations a day, and the parking structure outside Comerica Park handling 2,500 a day. When the Tigers start, we may shift over to the Red Wings parking structure and handle 2,500 a day when hockey season is over and baseball season begins, and we're in those conversations with the Ilitch organization. We've identified the freezers that we need. We're identifying the healthcare workers that we need. Hakeem Berry, our Chief Operating Officer, who was with me at DMC, is doing a great job. So we have a clear plan on how we're going to do this. We just need the federal government to tell us how many vaccines are coming when. And, but I would say, my guess is for the general population of Detroit, it's probably March or April.
Do you see, much like the way you did with COVID tests, and I think you did this because, well, ultimately you opened it up for all Detroiters, but do you see a process after the essential workers that we talked about? Do you see a process by which city employees, to the extent that you control the process, the city employees, and then the general population after
So
that?
I certainly expect, and this is going to be statewide, it's not just going to be Detroit, we're going to follow the governor's guideline, but after you get past the healthcare workers and those in the nursing homes, I expect you're going to see police officers, firefighters, bus drivers, and the like be in that second wave across the state. Obviously, we're in that business. We'll get that done relatively quickly. That's 3,000 or 4,000 people total. And then, at least what they're talking about today, and this may change, is that the next phase would be people over the age of 65. Now, when Joe Biden gets in there, when we get more of an analysis, is that the case? But we're going to use Quicken again, that did just such a phenomenal job in the appointments that we did for the testing. And what we are thinking today is that you might get your first appointment on March 18th and your second appointment on April 18th, because these vaccines require 2 shots about 30 days apart. Our intention is to schedule you both appointment dates at the time you go in the first time. And these things sound like there are a lot of details, but it's critical. If you got a Pfizer shot on March 18th, you need to get a Pfizer shot on April 18th. If you got a Moderna shot on March 18th, you got to get a Moderna shot on April 18th. These are the kinds of detailed logistics that are going to make the distribution far more complicated than people in Washington are talking about right now. This is going to be a very complicated rollout across this country, and we don't have any national coordination now. But we're trying to get ahead of the game, and Jeff Zients, who Joe Biden has put in charge of this, is a good friend, somebody I've worked with under the Obama administration, and I'm really confident on January 20th we'll see a real plan.
Finally, do you see yourself appointing sort of a team captain? Is it director fair? Is it
Hakeem Berry, our
Hakeem Berry, yeah.
Hakeem Berry, our COO, has run the testing facility, and, you know, there's no doubt the State Fairgrounds testing was the best testing site in the Midwest. It was remarkable. Anybody who's been through it knew it was 15 to 30 minutes to get through that entire process. We had the advantage of here in Detroit, we have Quicken that was able to have the kinds of call center resources to have an appointment process. So Hakeem Berry is now leading the same team that ran the testing sites. He's leading the team that is setting up the vaccination sites, and everybody in this town has been totally cooperative in helping us get ready.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, we have a couple of questions from reporters who are watching remotely. This, I think, would go to Councilmember Tate. They want to know, what was the impetus behind the legacy Detroiter designation and the 50% of licenses? Was this something that you've seen done before somewhere else, and do you see other applications where it could be applied in the city?
Yeah, so well, the state of Michigan currently has a social equity program that really aims to have half of the licenses provided to those who are located in disproportionately impacted areas. So what we did was, supported by the state of Michigan, based on the way that our approach was. We've also seen in numerous municipalities where residents are provided a guarantee of 15% or somewhere around 20%. We felt that because of how the city of Detroit has been, use this phrase as often as possible because it's literally in the, on the state's website or MRA's website, the city of Detroit has been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, by by marijuana convictions. And so it was imperative for us to ensure that we work to right that wrong. We have individuals who are making a very good living off of cannabis today, and the same plant was used to create this situation of mass incarceration around our country and in the city of Detroit. So this was an opportunity for us to revision how the city of Detroit approached cannabis and cannabis regulation, but also give the residents of Detroit an opportunity to revision it as well. Where some looked at it as within the traditional market, or what some would call the black market, this now provides an opportunity for Detroiters to come from out of the shadows. So that was the intent.
Okay. And as a follow-up to that, from kind of more of a personal perspective, what does it mean to you to be able to help create this opportunity for wealth building in the black community?
Oh, man, you know, living in the city of Detroit my entire life and seeing the, you know, over the years how things have changed. Industries have been lost. We've seen businesses close. We see a number of the challenges. You know, being an elected official during the time of bankruptcy, it was a very, very heartbreaking. And it's rare that you have an opportunity to help shape properly an industry in a way that benefits so many, not just city government, but also the residents of the city of Detroit. And being a lifelong Detroiter, I'm very proud of the fact that we have a government, myself included, we have a government that puts us first, puts residents first, makes sure that we're willing to withstand whatever type of criticism that comes our way, to put our residents first when it comes to our policies. And, you know, again, I don't think we'll ever have a policy where we'll have 100% agreement amongst everyone. But overwhelmingly, we've seen that residents of the city of Detroit, and then those who live outside of the city as well, have commented that they are very excited and proud of the way that we've approached this. And we've also heard from other municipalities that have indicated that if they had an opportunity to do it again, and they would more than likely look at increasing the numbers of residents who had awarded licenses in recreational marijuana sphere.
Okay, thank you. One last question, I believe, from John Hewitt at WWJ, sort of a financial impact question. Do we have any estimate at the city as far as what the financial impact to the city's budget would be in terms of the revenue that's generated in tax dollars?
It's not huge. This was placed on the ballot by the medical marijuana industry, as the tax rates aren't especially high. The bigger impact will be the employment and the wealth building opportunities for Detroiters, and that's where we really see our economic future in this industry.
All right, great, thank you. That was the last question.
And can I just add one last thing, is that we want to keep it 100, keep it real with folks. There are a lot of individuals who are out here right now who are trying to find straw men and women who have Detroit addresses to stand in front and say they are the owners of these properties. What they do is they provide them with a certain amount of cash and say, look, you sign your name on this line, we give you $25,000, $250,000. Whatever that number is, I just want Detroiters to know that it's not worth it, because we are absolutely going to do. Charity Dean is great at what she does. She's excellent at what she does. She's sifting through each and every document to ensure that the Detroiter is 51% owned, and the business is 51% owned and controlled by that Detroiter. The other piece to it is for those Detroiters who, will definitely have a badge, if you will, of prominence, being a legacy Detroiter. Don't just sign off on any deal. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure you do your homework, because there's a lot of money that's going to be out there thrown at you, a lot of phrases, a lot of promises that are out there. This is not legal advice, but what I would say as a fellow Detroiter is make sure that you consult with a professional who has the ability to guide you in ways that you may not be able to do yourself. And so that is a word of advice from me. Again, not legal advice, but just from one Detroiter to those Detroiters who are watching as well.
Well said.
All right.
All right.
We'll leave it at